Very nice. Well done, Jen. That was amazing. Good for you. And Jennifer, we did no collaboration on which song you were going to do, right? No. Have it all. Name of my talk? All or nothing. Nice when things work out, isn't it? Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's so good to be here, to see all of you healthy and whole. We're going to have a good time today. We're already having a good time, so we'll just keep it up. Barbara asked me, and this demonstrated to me that obviously I don't always think like other people. Barbara asked me what my talk title was, and I told her, All or Nothing. She said, great. What does that mean? I know I have work to do when Barbara says that. So good. Yes, I accept. This thing that we do called New Thought means we should have some new ideas every now and again, right? And look at what our other thoughts are, our other ideas that are flying through our minds, and see if they're still working. And I think today might count as one of those. I want to talk about this idea of God being all and how we deal with that. Now, when I do my research for a talk, I sometimes want to go see if there's anything out there in the world on the particular topic I want to talk about. So I just Google my talk title. And something interesting came up, a definition, a psychological definition. And it's called all or nothing thinking. Oh, by the way, I'm not impressed with this, but I want you to hear it anyway. All or nothing thinking is defined as a common defense mechanism used by many who are unable to bring together the dichotomy of both positive and negative qualities of the self and others into a cohesive, realistic whole. I don't want to have all kind of positives and negatives that I'm trying to make into a whole. I don't want negatives. I don't believe in negatives. We're not doing negatives. You know? My job is to know the presence of the divine no matter what. I can't do that if I'm lapping things into positives and negatives. So I reject that notion, but I still like the idea of all or nothing. I like the idea that we understand the presence as everything, as all there is. Now we say that a lot around here. The question today is, are we living that way? Is that how we're being in the world? Yeah, we call this thing called God, we call it the absolute. Well, if it's absolute, shouldn't we be absolute in knowing it? Yet, those things come up. Those things happen to us in life. And we construe something other than the perfection of the divine. And for some, it's really easy. In fact, some people go around pointing at things all day saying how bad they are. That's not what we do. That's not who we are. Our job is to find the presence, that absolute presence in everything. Now, it doesn't mean we have to like everything, but it does mean that there's something to understand in every circumstance and situation and relationship that we have in our lives. One way to make this really hard on yourself is to watch the news. Because it's structured so that it brings you the stuff that's bad, right? So we're inundated with all of this bad sounding stuff, and we have to constantly be working on ourselves to not embrace that to the point where we start believing it. And I'm not anti-news. They're doing their job. They're doing what they think is right. They're following the lead of generations of journalists. So they're just doing what they do. It's up to us to decide what we believe and how we want to live our lives. It's kind of the buyer beware concept. So to just wholehandedly buy whatever's going on out in the world skews our ability to know the truth of who we are and to live from that truth. So how do we get around this? What do we do different that's going to allow us to remember the presence of the divine no matter what? Well, before I actually let you in on my secret about that, I have a couple of more things I want to share with you. Let me make sure I'm not leaving anything really important out. Yes, here's the thing I want to say next, is that there's this thing about about being in that mode that requires two characteristics of human beings that I think are the troublemakers in all of this. One of them is fear, and the other is judgment. Those two things really kind of do it. I remember not long after 9/11, one of my colleagues, I was in ministerial school, no, I was in getting a PhD at the time, where I think I'd completed, but I was helping someone else, and they called me and said, all right, I know our meeting is 6 months away, but there probably won't be any planes flying. You know, and that was totally based in fear thought, that we would just collapse as a country. Something very difficult and challenging and horrifying happened in New York City on 9/11, but we didn't stop being who we are. That's important. No matter what's going on the outside, our reference needs to be always on the inside. We're not all that good at it. We're getting better. People that are not in the room are much less good at it than we are, but still, there's always work to do around this. So I thought I'd kind of give you some examples of what I'm talking about. First, culturally, how we as a society deal with this idea of avoiding judgment and fear. So I have a list for you. You recognize any of these names? Oh, yeah. So here's the question. Does anyone in the room not recognize any of these names? That's what I thought. These are serial murderers. These are people that went and killed other people. There's 10 of them right there. And put them all together and collectively, they killed over 180 people before they were caught. Now that's scary, right? Fact is, all of them right now are either dead or in jail. If they're in jail, they're never getting out. Okay? They killed 180 people out of 325 million. Yet you know their names. You know their names because you were blasted with them when they were news. And that just doesn't seem to go away. It's a thing humans do. They sort of hold on to the hard stuff. We sort of hold on to the hard stuff. So we know these names. Who knows any of these people? Okay, I got 1, 2, 3. Okay, a handful of you know somebody. Nobody knows all of these people, right? Anybody know all of them? I certainly didn't. Let me tell you about these people. Try not to take too awfully long, but this is a really interesting stuff. We start with Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich discovered the cure to syphilis and saved 42 million lives with that. Grace Eldering discovered the vaccine for whooping cough, saved 14 million lives. John Enders created a vaccine to cure measles or prevent measles, saved 120 million lives worldwide. Howard Florey discovered penicillin. 82 million lives saved. William Forgay, I'm guessing, discovered the cure for smallpox, which has been completely eradicated from planet Earth, saving 131 million lives. Andres, maybe I'll look up here and read it. Gunzig, perhaps German, created angioplasty. That's the procedure to repair coronary arteries, saving 15 million lives. Maurice Hilleman, this one's going to take a minute. He was a vaccine superstar. He created vaccines for encephalitis, Hong Kong flu, the mumps, hepatitis B, and 36 other vaccines in his life. Never heard of him. Okay, David Nalin created oral rehydration therapy. That's where you mix certain amounts of salt and water, or salt and sugar into water, and it keeps people who are suffering from diarrhea from dehydrating and dying. How many lives? 54 million lives. Gadsden Ramon created antitoxins for diphtheria and tetanus. And Abel Woolman figured out that chlorinated water will save lives to the number of, at this point, 177 million people. All told, these 10 people have saved the lives of over 800 million people on planet Earth. Yay! None of this just happened. It's been decades. Who knows them? Where do they get taught? Where do we know? These are our heroes. These are people that made a real difference on planet Earth. Yet we know the names of the serial killers. Some to work on. Where do we put our focus? How do we construct our understanding of life if we believe that God is all there is? How do we do that? Well, now I have a personal story, but not about me. About Charlie Shepard. Charlie just, had a pacemaker put in a couple, how long? About 3 weeks ago? Okay, about 3 weeks ago. And he said for the first 2 weeks of having that pacemaker in his heart, he was obsessed with the idea that human beings made that pacemaker and at any moment it could fail. Now, Charlie's a really smart guy. He's a great practitioner and a great leader. And even he got stuck with an idea in his head that had him worrying about whether he was going to survive this thing. And we can laugh because we love Charlie and Charlie loves us and we can laugh about that. But how many of us do that kind of thing? We get hooked on an idea that does not serve us. It does not work for us. It does not take us to the place we want to go. In fact, it keeps us from getting where we want to go. How do we do that? Well, Charlie, figured it out. It took him 2 weeks. Okay. And that's the point is, we have to be vigilant in how we see the world. We have to determine what our vantage point is. What is it that we can always count on as a pillar of absolute strength in our lives to know the truth? And the only one I know is God is all there is. The rest of them all come second to that. But to say it is not enough. To know the phrase, to be able to whip it off in a second, is not enough. What if we lived according to that knowing? What if everything we did had the confidence of the creator of the universe, that creative force of the universe, being at the point of us? Not the point of our bodies, the point of our being. How would that change your life? I know how it changes my life, and my guess is that if you've been in this teaching very long at all, you can reminisce back on when you didn't understand that and didn't live according to that at all, and how much better things are today. So I take nothing away from the fact that we've all made progress, but there's more to do. There's more to know. There's to know that we are not bound to a physician's diagnosis. We are not bound to the rejection of an individual. We can love them, and if they want to go, they get to go. It may hurt, but the truth is that somehow God's in the midst of that. So the work always has to be, where's God in the midst of this? When that thing comes up. I'm not expecting us all to never have one of those heavy thoughts, to suddenly fall in judgment, to suddenly be confused about what the right thing is in our lives. That's part of being human as well. So I'm not suggesting we should all never do that. What I am saying, though, is be ready to confront those ideas that do not serve you. How do you know when they don't serve you? They hurt. They have nothing good feeling about them. We don't want to call them bad because there's something in there. In the midst of this thing that looks like it's going to be misery, there's some wonderful blessing. And only we as individuals can find it for ourselves. Let's not try to rely on society to do this for us. It ain't going to happen. We're going to know who we are. We're going to know how life works. And we're going to make it change. And this is mechanics. This isn't a hard thing to understand. This is that if you believe it on the inside, it's real for you and it shows up on the outside. In the men's breakfast yesterday, the idea of the law of cause and effect came up. And that is the primary words that we use to describe spiritual law. I was in a conversation with Dr. Petra Weldis in Dallas. I was just there in Dallas, but it wasn't from this trip, but several trips back or other time when I was with her, it once came up, and I was saying, we were talking about the principles of science of mind that we could count on. And when we got to the idea of law, which is a major principle, I said, well, there's only one law. And some of my colleagues were confused. And Petra said, I agree with you. It's the law of cause and effect, which is just one of the names for the only law that there is, spiritual law. But cause and effect is what Holmes used a lot, and that's what we'll rely on. So what does cause and effect mean? How do you use that to understand the mechanics of this? For just a moment, all is up, nothing is down, right? Okay. Cause and effect. Cause is everything we express. Everything we think, say, and do is expressed as cause. Now, we are cause, but that's where we put cause into action, where we put it into having an impact on our lives. And it is our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And we start with thoughts. Please don't think that if you have a thought and you never said it out loud and nobody heard it, that it wasn't at cause point. It absolutely was. And if you think it, if you have an image of it, if you play in that realm, you're creating it. You're creating it. The law does not create alone. The law is passive. The law waits for you to tell it what to do. And it does that with your thoughts all the time. And you might go, well, I have thoughts that never come true. Not yet. You want to keep it up? I remember someone once was sure he was dying. He was just sure he was dying. And he would tell people, yeah, I'm getting close. This went on for 30 years. And then he went to the doctor one day, and the doctor says, you have cancer. He said, I knew it. And obviously, he was creating that whole time. It just took 30 years to create the cancer that would take his life. Okay, whatever you want. And I'm not saying that cancer is a wrong thing. I've had people tell me that their experience with cancer was the greatest lesson of their life, and they would not trade it for anything. There's also been a number of studies done where people had one fatal illness, and then another group had another one and another one, and the surveyors gave them a survey and said, so if you didn't have yours, which one of these would you have? Nobody wanted another one. They were okay with the one they had. Because they created it. They did that. Not in a bad way. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's the thoughts we have, the words we speak, and the actions we take that create the experiences of our lives. What is that? That's called effect. It's everything we experience. We are not at effect. Even when we think we are. And we teach that in class. When you're doing that, you're being at effect. You can't be at effect. You're cause. Now, you can buy into the effect, and you can say, that's the truth. And then you're hooked into it, and then you create that thing, whatever it is, again and again and again. I find many people who had dysfunctional parents in their relationship get into a dysfunctional relationship. Why is that? It's because they had a great model all those years of their youth on how to be in a dysfunctional relationship. Because they thought about it, they saw it, they had experience with it, and they created it into their lives. And then, of course, pointed at the other person and said, it's all their fault. It's not a matter of fault. But we do get caught up in this idea of judging things in our lives, of categorizing things in our lives, of trying to compartmentalize things so that we don't really have to deal with them. I have people do that to me where they'll ask me something about me over and over in different ways, trying to put me in a box. And it's a lovely dance because I don't fit well in a box. I fit nicely in these shoes, but not in a box. Not in a box. So doing that is some kind of a shortcut, a mental shortcut, trying to look at something. And oftentimes, especially if you put something in a box that you think is wrong or bad, you're missing the gift. You're missing the opportunity to see the truth about who you are. Because whatever it is, whatever it looks like, however horrific it sounds, you're bigger than that. You're more powerful than that. That thing that you're talking about is effect. You are cause, without exception. No exceptions. Even when it looks like you're the biggest victim on the planet, you're not. You're simply buying into something and creating it through your ability to create your experience. That's how it works. And it's amazing how people don't see that. In the general public, I know you see it. But in the general world, people don't see that. They don't get it. They don't understand that they're the ones that are creating this every step of the way. So how do you do it? My big secret, and I've already really talked about it, but I'm going to talk about it a little more. The only way I know around this is to know that God is everywhere in everything. It's the premise of our teaching. It's called oneness. That same God, that same infinite presence is infinitely there at the point of view. In every thought, in every action, in every word you speak, in every hug, in every smile, in every tear. God's in the midst of it. And when you remember that, you're not alone. You can't be alone. When you remember that, you have the remedy to whatever you think might be wrong in your life, no matter how bad it looks. And we've proven that over and over and over again in this community, and we'll continue to, because that's who we are and that's what we do. I truly believe we have the best teaching on the planet. Hasn't quite caught on in a big way yet. But some people say that we as a species are still in our infancy. So perhaps that is our evolutionary trek, is to understand this and to use this. And when we do, when we all do on this planet, there will be no war. There will be no famine. There will be no failure. For we are the presence of the divine. So if it's all or nothing, I pick all. And I invite you to do the same. Let's let God be all. And all will be God. It's a good thing. Thank you. I love you. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going to invite our welcomers to come up. Who's here for the very first time, showed up at Center for Spiritual Living Asheville today? First time. In the back, in the corner next to Victoria. What's your name? Shannon. Welcome, Shannon. I'm so glad that you're here. Jackie's got a card for you. Anybody else here for the first time? Pointing. People are pointing at you. Pat's friend. What is your name? Gail. Gail's here from Fort Lauderdale. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living. And I think there are people behind you that came for the first time. Who are you? Tracy and Kim, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Alice has a card for you. If you want to know more about what's going on at the center, you can fill out the card. We have a great weekly email newsletter that we send out. So if you want e-news only, just check that. And we'll keep you informed with all the wonderful things going on. But I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to a place that has miracles be an everyday occurrence, that we get to live the life of our dreams. We get to have what we want. We get to experience amazing lives. So thank you for being a part of that. And I believe that once you are in this room of such amazing vibration, something happens to you. Because we are not separate individuals. We are truly vibrational beings. And like the tuning forks, when you bring one tuning fork next to it, one that's singing, the one without ever being struck starts to sing. So we are all in here singing the song that life is good, God is all that there is. We are amazing, and I'm really glad that you came. The welcomers have a gift for you out in the foyer, and there's a piece of that is for the bookstore today if you're interested in that. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Hello. And now I'd like to invite our prosperity acceptors to come forward. Take out what you're going to give, and I want to talk to the camera a little bit. Those of you watching online, wherever you are in time and space, there's a donate button on your YouTube page, and you can click that and go right to our PayPal account and be a part of the support of this amazing, amazing ministry. We are truly changing the world. We had 12,000 people on our website in August. 12,000 of them. So those of you who are being a part of this teaching out in the World Wide Web, please join in. Support this amazing teaching, and let's continue to change the world. Those of you in the room, thank you for your generous gifts. We are doing good, and I am very grateful for all the many ways you support this center. If you are putting a check in right now, what I like to do is put my hand out, or deeds of trust, or auto-giving cards, or gold, or whatever it is you're doing. I like to open up my hand, put the gift on it, cover it with my other hand, and bring my hands to my heart. Because this truly is a love fest. And what I know is that whatever God is the source of all. So God is the source of all supply. That means that God is the source of the money in our lives and the flow in our lives. Money is God in action. It is the action of Spirit coming into our lives, blessing us, and then going back out into the world. And so I know that as we give this gift, we give it knowing that we are giving spirit to spirit as spirit, and everyone is blessed. Each of us comes together this day to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And we'll repeat our investment affirmation together aloud. I freely and joyously give from the abundance and fullness of my overflowing wealth, knowing my gift goes with love as it touches and blesses the world. And so it is.